The designer sets up a project through their administration page. The designer needs to give the project a name and address and choose a country and region. The performance of the dwelling is greatly affected by its location when calculated by our online SAP software. The designer needs to answer the following questions. The information provided by the Choosing a Method of Construction section of the website will help the designer choose the options which most suits their design. What method of construction is to be used? Is the building attached or detached? Is there a flat roof and what detail is to be used? What type of ground floor is to be used? What type of intermediate floor slab is to be used? Which opening details are to be used? The detail chosen for the lintel, jamb and sill affects the thermal bridge or Y factor calculation for around window and door openings. If the robust details are to be used, the thermal bridge software will calculate the Y factor using the PSI value of the detail chosen for the lintel, jamb and sill. It is important that the designer chooses which profile to use for the insulation and airtight barrier. This decision affects how the Y factor is calculated and what typical details are used to construct the dwelling. This is when the insulation and air barrier follows the profile of the ceiling if a flat ceiling, dormer or story and a half story is to be used. This will affect what typical details are presented by the software. If the designer chooses a profile from eave to ridge, this is when the insulation and air barrier goes directly to the ridge from the eave. This affects how the Y factor is calculated, what typical details and PSI values are used, and the lengths of details used to calculate the Y factor. The designer needs to decide on which type of building they are designing. A dwelling with a basement. This section is not active yet. We are awaiting confirmation of typical details. Ground floor apartment, intermediate floor or top floor apartment, dormer attic apartment, or story and a half apartment. If choosing all other dwellings, this would include detached, semi-detached, mid-terrace dwellings that are bungalows, multi-storied, dormer or story and a half. Because of the decisions made on this page, the calculator will present the designer with the specific construction details, design tools and best practice required to design the Part L specification. It is important that the designer is happy with the decisions made. If changes need to be made to this page, the designer will need to set up a new calculator.